Hey, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. You're listening to the longest running superhero role playing game on Earth. And as always, I'm your host, the Game Master. And today we'll be talking about Starro the Conqueror and the Justice League of America. But before we get into that, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell, and as always, leave a comment because that really helps us out on our end. We've got a great community here, and it's all thanks to you guys. Thank you so much for being here. With all that said, let's dive in. Prologue to this one takes place in 1960 when Aquaman is using his telepathy on fish. While an individual fish doesn't have much brain power, when you network millions of fish together, they sort of act like the individual neurons that by themselves don't seem like much, but when working in concert represent the brain and consciousness. So while talking to an individual fish doesn't accomplish much, talking to millions at once gives Aquaman a big picture of what's happening in Earth's oceans. He learns that the night before, what seemed to be a huge starfish fell into the ocean, where it then began to spawn. So Aquaman uses his communicator to call for help. In Arlington National Cemetery, Wonder Woman is visiting the grave of her dearly departed husband, Steve Trevor, who died in Korea. Just then, her communicator goes off, so she summons the invisible jet. In low Earth orbit, Superman punches several asteroids, breaking them into smaller pieces that will burn up on entry. His communicator also goes off. Meanwhile, the newest member of the Green Lantern Corps is Hal Jordan, who's a test pilot by day. He's currently flying a hypersonic research plane called the X-15 and is trying to hit Mach 4. As the plane streaks through the sky at breakneck speed and slowly begins to shake apart, all the needles are in the red. The voice of Carol Ferris is screaming in Hal's ear to eject, and the glass of his cockpit begins to crack. All the while, Hal is perfectly calm and unfazed. Carol screams, "Are you reading me, Hal? Eject!" Hal smiles and asks if she'd like to have dinner later that night, or maybe stay in. Just then, his communicator goes off. So an annoyed Hal Jordan pulls the lever. He ejects and transforms into the Green Lantern. As he flies away, the plane breaks up and explodes. In Gotham City, an aging Bruce Wayne is driving the Batmobile. His communicator goes off, but he silences it. Right now, he's already busy with matters of his own. Meanwhile, in Kansas, a tornado is headed for a small town. As the extreme winds begin to lift the shingles off of the roofs, the Flash zips in and runs around the tornado in the opposite direction, eventually nullifying it. Once he's done, his communicator goes off too, so he streaks away. Martian Manhunter is on vacation with his wife, Mary. They talk about visiting their daughter, Kim, who's in college now, when John's communicator goes off. He apologizes to his wife, then flies away. With the exception of Batman, the Justice League meets in their secret sanctuary, which is a hollowed out mountain in Happy Harbor, Rhode Island. This place was created by Superman when he was hollowing out other mountains by order of the United States government. This expansive headquarters looks like something out of a 1960s James Bond movie. While the League are sitting at a large round table in the center of the room, in the background you can see a 1960s lounge with retro furniture, an expansive library, a state-of-the-art crime lab, and even a vehicle hangar for things like the Batmobile and the Invisible Jet. Once they're all seated, Aquaman tells them about the giant starfish situation. And in 1960, it's Superman who is the chairman of the Justice League. As mentioned in previous videos, exposure to yellow sun radiation doesn't just make him stronger, it also makes him smarter. So Superman figures out a game plan and everyone heads out. One of the Starros flies to Rocky Mountain National Park, where it attacks an Air Force plane carrying an A bomb. The Starro ensnares the plane and punctures the hull. Its tentacles rip through the metal, feeling around for the bomb. The men inside open fire with their machine guns, but their rounds can't penetrate the creature's tough alien flesh. The Green Lantern catches up to Starro just as it grabs the bomb and drops the plane. Green Lantern uses his 25 APs of force manipulation to wrap the falling plane in a gigantic glowing green hand. At first, he gives the hand a body of 1 and a strength of 24, but supporting that much weight shatters the construct. Hal Jordan is still getting used to his new role as a lantern, so he tries again, this time giving a second glowing green hand, a strength of 12, and a body of 13. We roll the dice, and this time his attempt works. Hal sets the plane down and then enters through the huge hole in the side of it, taking note of how his glowing green hand also damaged the plane some. He checks on the Air Force officers, and they tell him that Starro stole an A-bomb. So he streaks off after the alien, leaving a wall of neon green light in his wake. As he gets close, the bomb goes off, and a mushroom cloud reaches high into the sky. Hal uses his force manipulation to create a 25 AP force field around himself. Just to be sure, he also substitutes his omnipower for dispersal. That way he's intangible. The blast passes harmlessly through him. Meanwhile, Starro uses energy absorption to suck up all of that radiation. And once he's done, the entire area is clean. Starro then points one of his tentacles at the Green Lantern and fires an energy blast at him. And this blast does atomic level damage. But thankfully, Hal still has his dispersal on. Starro absorbed APs of power from the atomic blast, which he uses up. Despite how much damage an energy blast can do, each blast has a body of 0 because it's not solid, and nothing with a body of 0 can hurt a character who's dispersed. On Hal Jordan's turn, he substitutes his omnipower for a shrinking ray. He shrinks Starro down to the size of an ordinary starfish. And the way that that works is when it's half as big, it becomes half as strong, half as tough, etc. So by the time it is shrunk all the way down, it is very weak. So Hal takes it to Oa for study. Meanwhile, the Martian Manhunter and Wonder Woman track down one of the Starros to a place called Science City, where it is attacking a facility known as the Hall of Science. Here, it is absorbing the minds of all of the scientists within. So Martian Manhunter and Wonder Woman pummel the alien starfish until it's knocked out. It fires atomic rays at them, which Wonder Woman blocks with her bracelets, and which the Martian Manhunter avoids by doing what Green Lantern had done in earlier rounds by turning intangible. Meanwhile, back in Happy Harbor, a teenage boy named Snapper Carr is treating his family's lawn with chemicals. He has a small device he pushes, and it sprinkles powder on the lawn. The chemicals are turf builder, calcium oxide, and sodium chlorate. Just then, a Starro uses mind control on the entire town, except Snapper Carr. Flash runs in at super speed, sees this, and figures it out at super speed. He decides one of the chemicals must be the key, and he discovers it's the calcium oxide, also known as lime. So Flash uses lime on this Starro, and once it's coated in the stuff, it enters a hibernation-like state and becomes rigid, as if it has rigor mortis. Meanwhile, Superman flies to the ocean floor, where he punches that Starro with a force sufficient to shatter a planet. So Starro is knocked out. Green Lantern uses his shrinking ray on all of the Starros and takes all of them back to Oa for study. Which brings us to the epilogue. When Hal flies to Oa with the Starros in a glowing green bubble, he is greeted by his trainer, a veteran Green Lantern named Thal Sinestro of the planet Korugar. Sinestro is teaching Hal everything he knows, and the two of them get along pretty well for the most part. Hal asks Sinestro if he can lock up these starfish, because back on Earth, his boss slash love interest, Carol, probably thinks he exploded. Sinestro cocks an eyebrow at this and says, "Very well, Jordan." Hal says, "Thanks, buddy, I owe you one," then flies off back to Earth. Sinestro takes the Starros to the science cells of Oa, where he is greeted by Lex Luthor and the Joker, who've been locked up here for about a decade. Lex Luthor has been watching all the Green Lanterns and has decided that of all of them, Sinestro is the most useful to him. So Luthor tells Sinestro he knows how to get rid of that yellow impurity that his power ring has. Sinestro says that Luthor would say anything to get out of his cell. And Luthor says that while that's true, it doesn't mean that he doesn't know how to free Sinestro from that which is most likely to kill him in the line of duty. Lex gives Sinestro his best sales pitch, and in the end, Sinestro lets Lex and the Joker out. And with that, the seeds of the Legion of Doom have been planted. But the Legion of Doom is a story for another day. And that was it for this game session. We enjoyed playing this one. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about it. If so, as always, smash that like button, check to see if you're still subscribed, ring the bell for notifications, and be sure to leave us a comment, as that really helps us out with the YouTube algorithm. From all of us here at the longest running superhero RPG on Earth, we hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you in the next adventure.